Hey everybody, welcome back to the Autistic Voice Project. My name is Matt Lowry. I'm coming to you from Kentucky.
And I'm Dr. Erin Findley. I'm coming to you from California.
And we were talking about the agenda because, okay, so for those of you who are just
The
listening
autistic
to
agenda.
us, yes, because we are autistic. We want to know what to plan, how to plan, when to plan, because we have this expectation sensitivity, right? Because we like to know how things are going to go. We want to plan our breaks. We want to plan our bio breaks. We want to plan to see how our meat bodies are going to go.
Meat body maintenance for the win.
Exactly. And before we get into today's topic, this is a thing that I want to tell Erin about, but I figured we'd tell everybody about too, because
Beautiful. I love it.
Have you, Erin, or listeners, because Erin can respond to me, listeners cannot, because listeners come from the future, and I cannot hear the people in the future, even though they're screaming at us right now. So, Erin, have you seen or heard of James Gunn?
We've talked about him a little bit in a previous podcast, the Superman one, right?
Yes.
And I have seen some YouTube video clips, kinds of things, but I wouldn't say I'm intimately familiar with him.
I've never met him myself, but I am a fan of his work. Every single project he does has one explicitly autistic, at least one explicitly autistic character in it. He does his research. For some reason, he is attracted to autistic characters, reasons which shall become clear in a moment. But as we are recording this, Superman was released on digital today because it's only been in theaters for 2 months, but for reasons unknown, the season 2 of the Peacemaker TV show is coming out next week. And he wanted to make sure that people could see Superman before seeing season 2 of Peacemaker, because Peacemaker ties into Superman. And he's the head of DC. He can do whatever he wants. It might seem like a poor business decision to eat your theatrical profits by putting it directly on streaming, but again, he wants people to see the entire story. And one of the neat things about him is that he's got a very autistic podcast about Peacemaker, where he and his apparently autistic friends get together. Steve Agee, oh my god. James Gunn, yeah. Chakudi Woody, oh my god. He was the High Evolutionary in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was in season 1 Peacemaker. And he was on there talking about how, as a child, he didn't play with toys. He liked to repeat things that he saw on TV.
Okay.
So, just straight up echolalia. And
nice.
oh, that's nice. And they had a moment where they were just sitting around the table repeating, oh God, I can't remember the name, Hampshire, over and over and over again. It just went around them, and they had an echolalia circle. But
nice.
The reason I bring this up is because we were talking about the need for breaks, because you might need to go shit.
I mean, I think I've taken care of that already today, but you never know.
I'm drinking a tankard of coffee because that's how my brain works. I need the caffeine.
Which has some predictable effects in the body, typically.
I always said that the side effect of drinking Starbucks is that, you hear the Starman theme from Mario and have an explosive colon. So, such is the way. I prefer Joffrey's coffee, because Joffrey's coffee is the coffee that they serve at Disney World. And, it is delicious, very mild coffee. Joffrey's, please pay us. But yes, it is. Send me free coffee, damn it. Yes.
Oh my God. Anybody who wants to send us free coffee, we will accept it with gratitude.
We will, yes.
Especially if it doesn't suck.
Yeah. Good coffee is hard to come by, and Joffrey's is good coffee. But he was on the podcast talking about how he has a tendency to not pay attention to his body. And he was saying, I was sitting there and I thought I might have to go to the bathroom, but I wanted to finish reading my comic. So I was sitting there reading my comic, and then all of a sudden I said, oh no, I have to go right now. And then he just frantically ran through a dark house, tripped over a box, and shat himself on the floor because he waited too long to go.
Yeah.
As is the way.
It's a thing.
Because we do need to pay attention to these things. This is that whole alexithymia, because
Right.
there is a sense of this internal goings on in the body called interoception.
Right.
And some things you might be really, really attuned to, like, oh my God, my heart is beating like crazy. Why? Or, again, with the whole Papa John's thing, my stomach is all crazy. But we might not, we might be distracted. We might be otherwise occupied.
Right. Well, especially when we're really like focused in on something we're super interested in, like his comic book, or if I love building ChatGPT bots. I don't know why. It just makes me fucking happy. And so if I'm like in there trying to force ChatGPT to do the thing that I want it to do, I could be in there for hours, and then I'll be like, oh crap, I need to do things like pee and eat something, because I'm now a raging like bitch gorgon that's going to turn everybody to stone.
So we have both building robots and a Greek mythology reference there. So in case anyone's wondering, we're autistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, dear listeners, if this is the kind of thing that appeals to you, welcome. You're in the right place.
Welcome home.
And that brings us to our topic today of self-identification.
That's right.
Because this is the thing. We've talked before about the gatekeeping that comes with diagnosing, and for the longest time, the whole autism word was a closely guarded secret only bestowed upon the sacred few that were deemed to like trains enough and flap enough to warrant a medical diagnosis.
Yeah.
But the more we learn about autism, the more we learn about the heritability and the traits, and again speak to autistic people, which is really should have been step one.
Yeah.
We learn about all of these internalized components and all of the various ways that autism can present in children, in adults, across genders, across cultures, across the lifespan, and that the current model is very, very much based on young white cisgender heterosexual boys.
Middle class.
Middle class, yes. Because again,
or
if you're
more
poor,
affluent, right?
yeah.
Because if
you're
you're
poor, you don't have autism. You have a behavioral disorder.
Right. And if you're a person
ODD.
of color and you're
Exactly.
poor, then you're just a bad kid.
Exactly. Someone brought up a topic a while back in Autistic Connections, our Facebook group, about Chris Rock being diagnosed with
NVLD, nonverbal learning disorder.
Nonverbal learning disorder, because again, it's like quote unquote distinct anxiety. What does that mean? Because again, there is a very, very racist tendency to diagnose white people with autism and people of color with literally anything else.
Yeah. And I remember early in my clinical training, they actually talked to us about that. It was in a more progressive. I'm in California, right? So it was in a more progressive agency.
Yeah.
Oh yeah! Shout out and props to the Class A trolling happening right now.
Yes, exactly.
Which will be a long history by the time this podcast actually gets released. But I am loving the fact that someone is finally bringing a gun to the gunfight instead of a butter knife.
Yeah.
Anyways, so early in my clinical training, they talked about the ADHD and oppositional defiant to conduct disorder to antisocial personality disorder diagnostic pipeline that tended to happen for young black men and black boys.
Yeah.
And they were very, I really, really appreciate my, my clinical placement for this, because they were very clear. Like, yes, you need to pay attention to what's happening diagnostically for these kids, but remember also they're kids and they have what we now know is a severe developmental trauma if they grow up in any kinds of these circumstances, and they're certainly under minority stress. So if they grow up in, a lower socioeconomic area that has a lot of violence or gang activity or something like that, they're going to have the developmental trauma. They also have the minority stress. Like, this is going to create behavioral outcomes that if you only look at what's on the surface, you're going to put a kid in jeopardy.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that lesson. And I will never... Yeah.
To be absolutely clear, it's the diagnostics that are the problem here, and
yes.
the expectations.
Completely.
The expectations placed upon it, because there were studies a long time ago that where again, so psychology has its what we call fun and games period, where you could do all sorts of war crimes to unknowing children, animals, and anyone else. And call it a psychological study. And some of these things included like having teachers separate the children into two groups. One group saying, "Oh, you are going to be very successful, congratulations," and "Hey, dummies," and then track the children's progress. And the ones that were told that they will do better actually did better because they had self-esteem, and the ones who said that they wouldn't do better actually didn't do better. And
right.
Because I was one of those children. Well, I mean, I was autistic. Fancy that. I tended to read psychological studies at a young age, and
I was always reciting Monty Python.
I may have accused people of smelling of elderberries, but yes, yeah, but yeah, I was convinced for a while due to the whole imposter syndrome thing that I was in the group that said, "Oh yes, you'll do well," even though I couldn't do well because I kept getting all these academic accolades and people saying, "Oh yes, you're doing quite well," but I was like, "Oh, but I don't understand anything. Why is this? I must be in that group." But this is the thing, because if you get that label of nonverbal learning disability, oppositional defiant disorder, conduct disorder, which again is placed upon people by biased professionals, these people are more likely to believe that and then have this self-fulfilling prophecy, and the other people are likely to see that in the chart and say, "Oh, this child has oppositional defiant disorder. I must treat them poorly because that's the only way that
because I'm going to expect them to be combative."
Exactly. Right. And that's the kind of bullshit that causes a lot of problems, especially for black and brown people, especially these days.
Yeah.
So, there was a thing a while back where a fellow therapist asked, "Hey, how do you celebrate the autism? How do you say congratulations on the autism?" And a whole bunch of therapists chimed in of saying, "You should never say that. Oh my God, why would you ever celebrate such a thing?" And I had to say, what's the deal with the ableism, you people? Why can't people be proud of themselves? So this is a very extensive way, a 13-minute long way of saying, because this is the brief explanation. If you want the full thing, we'll be doing a 27-hour training coming up, but But this is a big way of saying...
Okay, we haven't actually committed to that yet, so if you need the 27-hour training, let us know. But we haven't actually committed to that, Matt's kidding.
I'm not good with the sarcasm there, because autistic. But yes, but if you want
to be clear.
If you do want it, mail me some coffee, and I'll get all wired and talk to you for a lengthy period of time, far past the point of being comfortable. So...
At least it happens in segments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why we cut it off in 30 minutes, so you could say, yes, that was a pleasant amount of interaction. Yes. Well, I will come back next week and have some more. Instead of,
and then you too can go pee.
A lot. Yeah. But this is why self-identification is important and essential to healthy identity and healthy functioning. Because there's going to be let's say you're in an, because that's the thing, both Erin and I are legally, medically qualified to diagnose autism. We're both autistic. We see it. We know the ADHD. We know the autism. We understand how it presents. But there's only like 100 of us in the entire country.
Yeah, there's
We're coming
not
to
that
you from
many
the
of
USA.
us.
And worldwide, oh my God, there might be 8 more.
Yeah, well, there's a strong cohort in Australia, so I want to
yes,
shout
there
out
is.
to
Yes.
to our Australian kindred.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I would say that's the country I hear the most from and about, other than the United States, which doesn't mean that other autistic therapists and autistic assessors don't exist in other places. I just don't know about you yet, so
Yeah.
that's,
Drop us a
you know,
line. Let's
drop us a line.
network.
By the way, we haven't given people our email address yet, so let me just do that right now.
Oh, good.
It's
Yes.
podcast@autisticvoiceproject.com. So again,
Podcast.
if you want to reach us, podcast@autisticvoiceproject.com. We promise to reply eventually. Neither one of us is timely, but we are
Executive
well
functioning,
intentioned.
and this is the thing because okay, so with the diagnosing thing, in the past, one particular person said, "Why is it so hard to find people?" Because this is the thing: if you want somebody who's autistic and doing this job, you have to accept that an autistic person is doing the job. Because whereas a neurotypical person will respond to emails in a timely manner, will answer the phones every single day, will work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, we're autistic. We can't do that because we have the life experience. We understand the autism better than anybody else.
Right.
But in doing that, we also have the same limitations other autistic people do.
Right.
So if we run out of spoons, we must crash for around 36, 84 hours, you know. If the spoons are low, we must go on, standby mode. Because we also don't want to crash because there used to be 4 people in Kentucky who were qualified to do autism assessments and, do all this. As of right now, I believe there, depending on when you listen to this, because again, you're in the future. At this very moment, there's only 2 of us.
Right.
Due to various reasons.
And to be clear again, like when you say qualified, you're talking about autistic people who are qualified.
Yes.
Right. There are other people who have the license level and claim to have the training in Kentucky. And I don't know all of them, so I don't know their quality, but I got to tell you, be cautious. I mean, honestly, even if you're talking to one of us, be cautious, be a wise consumer. And if you have questions about what that means, then send us an email. We'll answer it in a podcast. Not all therapists and assessors are created equal. Let's just put it that way. Is that a nice enough way of putting it?
Well, when my son was assessed, my ex is not autistic. My son is diagnosed so. I knew my son was autistic from like 3 months in when he was like, you know what I love? Staring at fans. And I was like, oh, hey, he's like me. He's like me. He's like me. And I was like, oh. And that's when I came out of the neuro closet because I was like, I really have to make some changes in the world to child-proof the world for my child. And when my ex split, I was like, my son's autistic. And she's like, well, we'll see about that. And I was like, I know people that can do the evaluation. She said, well, I want somebody unbiased. Because, again, that's... So she took him to a place in Louisville, had a 2-year waiting list. And they went in, and my son was happy to see me. Because, again, every time I pick him up, we go to McDonald's and we get a Happy Meal, and at the time we got a vanilla milkshake, Banilla, because, again, he was adorable. But we went in.
He still is adorable. What are you talking about?
Yes.
He's
he
a
was
cutie
shorter
patootie.
and adorable. He is.
Well, true.
Yes. But we went into the evaluation, and this guy who, again, is a psychologist, he got the degree, and he was doing the evaluation, and he asked my son some questions. My son wanted to give him a lecture about electric towers and the Eiffel Tower. My son did not ask him any questions about the evaluator's grandma, because why? And then my son just kept telling him that Daddy was going to take him to get a Happy Meal with a vanilla milkshake.
Nice.
And this guy decided that my son has an IQ of 70 because he didn't ask about the evaluator's grandmother and had poor social skills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was like, well, nobody knows what causes autism, but we know it's a debilitating lifelong disease. And I was like, well, actually, we do know it's genetic, and I'm autistic, my mom's family is autistic, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, well, agree to disagree. And I was like, disagree with science? Really? Oh, God. Oh, God. And again, one of the reasons that, Cade was on the podcast is because I was teaching a group of holistic psychologists about us, and the holistic psychologists were shocked to discover that we can breed.
What?
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
So, yeah. Again, I tell the story frequently. It's to the point where it's become a script. But I started off, as I do with most presentations. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm autistic. My son's autistic. My mom's family's autistic. Here we are. And this psychologist, again with a PhD, or yes, I think it was a PhD, said, excuse me, might I interrupt? And like, go for it. Ask a question. I'm very comfortable with questions. And he said, is he you have a son? Yes, I do. Is he your biological son? Why, yes, he is. How did you make him?
The standard way?
Yeah, I said, the old-fashioned way. Why do you ask? I was like, I got pictures, but, but
we have video too, but
yeah,
I'm not going to show it to you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's but he was under the impression that we can't breed, possibly due to either not understanding the mechanisms or being born without genitals. I don't know.
We're not mules. Everyone, for anyone who doesn't know, mules are a crossbreed between what, horses and donkeys, right?
Yes.
Right, and they are all sterile, right?
Ah, yeah.
So we are not mules. Yes, egg, sperm.
Yeah.
They connect. They make babies.
This is our top
if there's an
recruiting
implantation into a uterus.
Yeah. And I might add, there's a lot of autistic people who have uteruses.
There are.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever told you this, but
what's that?
Did I tell you that because I used to live in a different part of Kentucky, in the boonies, and I used to do evaluations for a school down there, which shall remain nameless, but they stopped accepting my reports when I diagnosed a girl with autism. Oh. And the school psychologist, again, PhD, told me to my face, Matt, girls can't be autistic. Girls have ADHD and boys have autism. I said, yes, like all cats are girls and all dogs are boys. And she thought I was insane. So she said that they would no longer accept my reports because I was unreliable in diagnosing a girl with autism.
Forfend.
Yeah. Also because I'm a sarcastic bastard, so here we are. Because I can't help it. That's
yes. Uteruses do not prevent autism.
That's how you get a mule, by breeding with an ass.
Uteruses do not prevent autism. I'm just gonna put. If there's anybody listening to this that thinks uteruses prevent autism, nope.
And here's even more, because again, we talked about the weird DSM diagnosis. We talked about the weird DSM identification of autism. But the thing about uteruses is that the reproductive system involves a lot of connective tissue. So there's a lot of very interesting side effects of pregnancy that, was it the previa? Oh God, placenta previa. Because it requires a lot of connective tissue to hold a placenta in place during pregnancy. And if a mom is autistic, there might be some potential complications, which leads to NICU stays, which leads to other sort of stuff going on. And again, there's been studies about how because you can't ethically say, all right, let's breed some autistics. There's some studies about this child is autistic. Were there any pregnancy complications? Oh, clearly, and they take the takeaway is that the pregnancy complications cause autism, rather than an autistic mother might be more likely to have pregnancy complications.
Yeah. So that's just one way that so many of the articles, like, they do good science until they get to the point where they're drawing conclusions.
Right.
And then it's like, no, you're putting the cart before the horse here.
Yeah.
Like, you're...
Yeah, it's like the one where, because I share this article a lot, how the neurotypical researchers wanted the autistics to play this game, and the autistics refused to cheat, the allistics all universally cheated. So the takeaway by the researchers was that we have, quote, a rigid moral inflexibility that prevents us from succeeding.
Yeah. God forbid we should want to, like, follow our own internal compasses and stick with what's right.
And again, this leads into our PDA, which is frequently misdiagnosed as ODD and conduct disorder and all this other stuff, instead of just saying, no, that's wrong, I don't want to do that. And that's the PDAers of the country are the ones that will save us from fascism.
So for those who don't know, PDA is referred to. Some people just think of it as the initials, but in this case, we're not talking about public displays of affection, which is one of the common ways that the three-letter acronym, or the initialism, actually, is what it is. PDA is used. So PDA originally, when defined by outsiders, non-PDAers, was pathological demand avoidance.
Because anything that is different is pathological.
Right. Over time, the PDA letters have stood for different things, and so if you know a PDAer and you're interacting with them, please ask them how they define their PDA. Is it just the letters, or does it stand for pathological demand avoidance, or does it stand for something different, like persistent drive for autonomy? That's the one I use most often when I'm describing it to other people, because I think that that's the frame that many people who aren't PDAers can recognize, and it's not pathologizing, but always, always, always yield to the person's identity as they present it to you, if you're talking to a PDAer. Also, demand avoidance exists outside of PDA, and these are two separate things. And it's really important to remember that. So, the
degree to which we do the thing.
Right. Like, if you are reacting to your nervous system internal demands, external demands, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. If you're reacting to your nervous system demands or anything else like that, with a very strong drive for autonomy, which actually interferes with things that you want to do, not just in one area or one topic, but across the board, you're more likely to be a PDAer than if you're experiencing demand avoidance in a certain category or from a certain person. Like, if my husband came up and told me to do something, which he doesn't anyways, but if he were...
he learned a lesson.
Well, we've definitely we've done our work, him and I, I love that man dearly. But if I were a PDAer and if my husband told me to do something, I would have an internal resistance even if I wanted to do the thing. Yeah. If I were struggling with my husband and I were not a PDAer, I might also struggle to do the thing that he wanted me to do, right? Yeah. But it's two different issues that look the same on the surface.
Yeah.
So
and
again,
this is the big thing because
and this is where it comes back
Yeah.
to self-identification. We
Yeah.
gotta get to know what's going on under the surface from the lived experience out instead of the external observations in.
yes, because
So
that's
take it away.
yeah. Well, 30 minutes in. Oh God. Yeah.
Well, we
This
needed
might
the
be a part
warm-up.
two. Yeah. Well, we'll talk briefly about this, and then we will talk about a part two because yes, we need that prelude of why this
That's
is
right.
important.
We're getting into the groove. It's good.
Exactly, because this is the thing. Because again, you can go. There are lots and lots of people who are licensed, but when you do the math, it turns out that Erin and I each represent 0.00017% of the available professionals out there who are legally able to diagnose autism. 0.00017%.
I always thought I was unique.
Yeah. There are lots and lots and lots of people out there who diagnose from the external and say, yes, I will check off this checklist if he lines up trains, and I say he because it's always a he, because they.
Because that's a stereotype.
Exactly. But you know you better than anybody else. And this is why this is important to understand the internal experience of being autistic. And this is where our expectation sensitivity is going to come in. Your expectation for next episode, we are going to learn more about identity. We'll talk about expectation sensitivity dysphoria. I find it fascinating because my son, if we change plans, he has a brief crisis where he breaks down crying. Even if I needed to go to the optometrist, but I had to change the day of the optometrist. It wasn't going to be particularly fun to go to the optometrist, but the plans changed, and he needed some cuddles and a brief cry because he had said, today we will go to the optometrist for Daddy. And we didn't, and he was like, oh God! And it hit that amygdala sweet spot, and he had a big crisis about it, and then we had to work through it and come back, versus our need for order, our need for sameness, our need to understand what's going to happen, our need for the plan. So we are going to take a break that will depend on a week from now, if you're listening to these as they air, or immediately next if you're binging things in the future. And then we will come back and talk about identity and how all this kind of stuff, how you can scaffold your life, how you can use your internal experience, maximize your internal experience, how you can take into account all these autistic things in order to autistify your life.
That's right.
But we will be back soon. Again, I'm Matt.
I'm Erin.
We'll see you soon.